Good morning. Today's video, I am going to show you my 5 worst performing David Austin roses as a first-year rose. Now, I understand this varies widely for everyone. I'm on a lot of Facebook sites that will say, this plant did terrible for me, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's one of my favorites. So I understand that, and even locally, I have a friend that is shovel pruning some roses, and I actually am the recipient of one of them that I love and are doing well for me, or doing well enough that I know given a second year or even a third year, they will thrive. But these are the ones that really have not bloomed much for me. I'm not really shovel pruning any of them, but I am moving some to the back garden, back out of the way, and then if they don't do well there, then eventually might be shovel pruned. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first underperformer is Lark Ascending. So this one is in a rather large pot. It's 24 inches across, about the same, at least 20 inches deep, which is what, 60 centimeters by 60-ish centimeters. So it's definitely in a large enough pot, and I actually grew my first original David Austin roses in these pots quite successfully, but most of them I have moved into the ground. This one just stayed sickly for me all summer. So you can see some of the leaves here. It has thrip damage, but even the non-damaged leaves all stayed rather small. Now, I thought that it was because of the location. So I moved the pot. I was going to try and grow it up this pillar. I don't think it was getting enough sun. My previous location, I feel like it was getting too much sun. It was in a full sun, over 95 degrees all summer long. Now that I pulled it away from the pillar so that it gets morning sun till about 2 p.m. and then the house faces east, so then everything goes in the shade. So now that I've recently, maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, pulled it away, I see that I'm getting larger leaves. Now, also note, the temperatures have been cooling here in middle Tennessee, and I am seeing a few buds. Okay, here are the buds. And these actually look healthy and look like they might be good size. So we're going to see what happens. However, as my first year rose, this one was a poor performer, and I think it only bloomed in the spring for me. So let's go along other poor performers. Okay. Well, my Queen of Sweden was not a good performer either. I wanted to put her in the ground. She is going to go in the ground. She's going to go where my zinnias are. Just a few random zinnia bushes I planted up here. I think she's going to go here. But the zinnias are so pretty, I don't want to yank out the bush yet. So she'll eventually go into the ground there. But she's doing well. Again, this is a even bigger pot. It's 80 liters, which is, I think, almost 25 gallons of soil. It's 25 inches across and maybe 18 inches deep. And it is a very tall plant, but it really was not blooming. It would bloom occasionally, and I would get 1 or 2 blooms on the top. You can see I deadheaded a few, so I had a couple. So it is starting to get a few more as our weather is cooling down. But over the summer, she did nothing for me, and she stayed really scrawny like this. Now my focus is going all over the place. I did mess up, so if you're looking at all these brown leaves, I am a spray garden, and when I sprayed a few weeks ago, I did half an ounce in my 2-gallon sprayer instead of half a teaspoon of what I was spraying. So I really did burn most of my roses. So most of my roses, you can see, will have the burnt leaves, and these are just on the leaves left on the plant. Most of them have lost all of those leaves. So a lot of the green is new growth. So I think I had some sort of mite damage, but it also had the smaller, the more curled, the leaves. Now this plant might have curled leaves, but you can see on some of the newer growth, this is a healthy stock, that they're just a little bit bigger. So this one stayed small leaves, and just not super healthy with blooms. All right, this is my least favorite David Austin rose of all the 30 or so that I have, and this is my Harlow Carr. Again, you can see healthy leaves are nice and are big. This one had, whoops, no, that's the wrong one. This one had a lot of the small leaves, but it is doing better. The reason why I don't like this one are all these horrible thorns. Can we focus this close? This isn't a macro lens. I don't know if it's going to focus that close. Lots and lots of thorns. The blooms, it did bloom over the summer, but they were smaller flowers. I didn't really like the shape. They did have a beautiful fragrance. That's the only reason why I'm not tossing it, shovel pruning it right now. But they were really scrappy, and it was overall a very ugly bush. The few blooms I had did not make this worth keeping. And right next to it, I'm going to totally blame on the size of the pot. This is an extremely narrow pot. It might be 16 inches across. Being in such a tiny pot, it just got too hot. Again, the leaves now are getting really big and beautiful. They were very small and compact. It did not have very many blooms, and when I would see a bud and say, oh, it's going to be really pretty soon, the blooms went straight from bud stage to fully open, and that could just be the form of the flowers, but it wasn't my favorite form. It looked like a blown open rose. It actually looked very similar to Harlow Carr as far as the form, and that just is not my favorite form on roses. This one is going in the ground. I am going to put it out back because I didn't really like the form. But next on my underperforming list are my two Emily Brontes. Huge bushes, healthy bushes. The leaves were beautiful, large, and healthy all summer long, you know, minus the chemical burns that I gave them all. But really beautiful. And I think this is it. Since the spring, I had these two bloom on this plant. I had nothing bloom on this one, and I still don't see a single bud. I mean, you know, compare it to what's right next to it, which, you know, I've got lots of bud. The weather's getting perfect for blooms. Yeah, lots of new growth, but no blooms. So people will say, give it time. That second year, it's supposed to do a lot better. And then some people have said that they've had theirs for 3 years and still nothing. So we'll see what's going to happen there. Now, a good bloomer, just since I'm walking by, is my America. We're going to get a lot of wind tonight, so I need to, because the storm is the path for the hurricane when it hits landfall is going to be up through Tennessee. So I do need to get those tied to the arbor so they don't get ripped off. But on the other side, 0 blooms. I mean, again, really healthy looking plant. This is my Gertrude Jekyll. Yeah, not a single bloom all summer. It had a couple in the spring. Gosh, it is beautiful. Beautiful, thick, healthy, but definitely an underperformer for me. So we're going to keep it here because it is growing up on the arch. It's going to be quite a different pink than this coral color, so I don't know how it's going to look. I'd like to take the coral one up and over, and then maybe just keep this one on the side. I don't know. We'll see. I might end up moving it and putting another coral climber on the other side. But yeah, total underperformer. Like, I don't understand these. They're so beautiful, like foliage-wise, some of my healthiest, largest roses, but no growth or no blooms. Okay, look at this one. South Africa. These blooms have been there for over a week. They stay forever. Okay, another underperformer right here. My Lark Ascending. Oh, I do have one bloom here, and it looks pretty. It did bloom. Part of me thinks, well, not part of me. I know a lot of it was my own fault. It was in a very large container. In fact, it was in this brown one right here, which is my largest of all containers. So the container size was really good. However, it was way up here in the front of my garden. So I did not have drip. I do now have drip going all the way to the front, but I did not have drip irrigation, so it depended on me remembering to come out and watering it in this front corner. All my annuals did well with no water, so I'm definitely going to keep these around. But yeah, it used to be situated right there, and no shade at all. I think the pot just gets too hot if you can't get a lot of water here. So it never did really well, so I moved it here. Again, I think it had some sort of insect, but that's all gone. I don't really love it. It's pretty thorny also. And the flowers are very loose. I'm also going to move it, even though I just moved it here a couple weeks ago, I am going to move it again out back where my dahlias are, because I think instead of this being my peach area, another peach area, I don't know, but I got Crown Princess Marguerite, and she's doing really good there, so I don't know if I want to move her. But I was thinking of putting my bright pinks. I've ordered a lot of bright pinks for next year, or deep pinks, deep and medium pinks, and I was thinking of making this front area my pink area. Lady of Shalott, everybody's Lady of Shalott was so amazing, and mine did nothing. Even now, you can see the new growth, still tiny, tiny. It's now in a big pot, no blooms. Again, I might have had thrips, had something, that I had to spray on my other pots. But my other pots all did really well and jumped back and bloomed. And this one, yeah, just not doing anything. I did not get that gorgeous Lady of Shalott clusters of cupped blooms. So we'll see. This, my Crown Princess, oh my goodness. Oh, well, it's shattering now. These have been on here though for, 2 weeks. These are new up here. I mean, talk about a performer. I just don't really know. I've been trying to push these through. I just don't really know how to grow it on an obelisk. I watched the videos, and they talk about, pushing it through, but it just seems so crowded. Anyway, maybe it's too big. Maybe my obelisk is too small. I don't know. But that's the subject for another video. Okay, I'm just going to do you a little pan on what's going on in my garden. I love this side. My cottage garden is doing well. One other rose that this might be my only shovel prune this year. and it's not because it was underperforming. It actually was a really good performer. It's because I don't like the color. So I want to put this right where this rose bush is. So the rose bush has to go. That's my next project that I am going to do actually as soon as I finish this video. But this is Maui Sunrise, and it's got these neon pink orange flowers. I mean, I don't hate the color of the flowers. I just don't like it here, and I just don't know. I mean, I guess it would look good with my Louise Clemens. See? Over there, my Louise Clemens is kind of a corally color, but it's almost just too neon for me. Okay, that's it. I do understand that location, temperatures, the fact that all of my underperformer are in pots has something to do with how my roses are growing. I did have my carding mill last year that I called David Austin because I was really concerned about it. Let me just show it to you really quick. Just getting ready. It's got a new flush going. This plant has been pushing out blooms all summer long. Once I took it out of the pot, put it in the ground. So it was planted in the ground at the end of July, and it has been doing amazing. Has not had all the diseases that I had in the pots or the tons of black spot. The Annick is another one doing really good once I got it in the ground. So that is something to consider too, is whether or not, if you've got them in pots, if they might thrive better if you're putting them in the ground. But these are second year David Austins, and the Annick did well for me last year in a pot, though the carding mill did not. This is definitely one that it took its second year to be a prolific grower for me. So you can see the carding mill has just been one of my most prolific bloomers as a second year rose. So I do know I probably would have put it at the same position as like the Claire Austin. Like in October it did get a few buds, but it did zero all summer long. And so so we'll see what happens. These are not, I'm not giving up on all of these. I'm just showing you what they're doing as a first year rose in my 7B hot and humid environment in containers. So we'll see what happens next year. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.